Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us here at Cloud Wars Live, where we explore today's digital business revolution by speaking with business executives and thought leaders who are profoundly changing how the world works, lives, plays, learns, and dreams. Our guest today is Wayne Sadin, a world-renowned expert on corporate strategy, digital business, and technology strategy, who advises boards and CEOs on how to compete and win in today's digital economy. This is a return appearance for Wayne on Cloud Wars Live and marks the debut of a new monthly feature called Wayne Sadin on Digital Strategy, where each month we'll dig into the high-level issues transforming the business world and the decisions leaders make. Wayne, welcome back to Cloud Wars Live podcast. Thanks very much for joining us.
And thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure to be back.
Wonderful. So, Wayne, in this monthly series, we're going to be focusing on the role of the CEO and the board in creating, evaluating, executing, and evolving digital strategy. So to get us started, what's the role of the CEO and the board today in, setting this digital strategy in the digital crazy world here in 2019?
Well, Bob, the good news is the role of the board and the role of the CEO in setting digital strategy is exactly the same as their role in setting every other kind of strategy. The board and the CEO are responsible for making a strategy, living up to the strategy, altering the strategy, and the fact that there's technology involved in it doesn't change their responsibility. It just changes the tool we're using to implement that part of their strategy.
Yeah, so Wayne, I get a little nervous sometimes. You hear certain people say today, well, what's your digital strategy? And I think inherent what you're saying is don't have a business strategy over here and a digital strategy over here. It's the same thing.
Absolutely, Bob. I see this time and again. We do an investment strategy, a capital allocation strategy. We have all these business processes that have been worked out over the years. And then we stick IT over in the corner and we have a separate discussion, oftentimes at a lower level. And then IT tries to figure out from what they've learned over here, what's going on over there. So let's stop thinking of it as digital first and think strategy first, enabled by technology.
Perfect, Wayne. So then how is the best way for, from what you've just said here, for the CEO and the board to loop the CIO at the appropriate time and appropriate place into this very broad discussion?
A couple of pieces of advice. The first one is get the CIO or CDO or CTO, whatever you call your top technology leader, involved in the business process discussion. It's not okay to bury them deep in the organization. And I should say, I know lots of CFOs, I know lots of business heads, and I've worked for some very good ones. But working as an IT leader for a functional specialist, you will see everything through the filter of that function. If it's the CFO, it'll be profit and loss. If it's the CMO, and I've reported to one of those, everything will be about the newest campaign. Only the board, CEO, maybe president, COO, see the top picture of the business. And that's where IT has to be involved. I'm going to quote George P. Shultz, the former Treasury Secretary and Secretary of State, who said, "If you want me in on the landing, include me on the takeoff."
Perfect way to put it.
And that applies to CIOs just like it applies to government leaders. That's one thing. The other thing about working with the CIO is that I see it all the time. Presidents, CEOs, board members are a little afraid of technology. Remember, we're talking about people that are on my age, your age, who grew up when they were functional executives and technology was in a backroom function. We were in the basement with punch cards when a lot of the executives that are leading companies grew up. And so it's not natural like the millennial and Gen Zs to just pick up your phone and do something. So a message I want to give to the CEOs and board executives and investors. No question you ask is a dumb question.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. I got a stupid question to ask. And I stop people and say, you're the CEO. By definition, it's a great question. Let's answer it. The second part of that is a technologist that can't answer a question in business terms should not be sitting in the room.
Right.
To say, well, that's too technical, I can't explain it, is absolute bunk.
Yeah.
If you ask me a business question, can I do this? The answer needs to be how much, how risky, and when, not how I build the thing. So be prepared to hold your IT people accountable to being business people. And don't put us in that separate little box called, oh, they're just techie, so they don't understand, and therefore I can't understand them.
Yeah.
IT folks get a pass because they're IT folks.
Yeah.
So stop cutting me any slack. If I'm going to sit in the C-suite, treat me like a C-suite executive. We don't say, well, I don't expect the CFO to understand business or the CMO to understand business. But for too long, it's been this cult that IT people grew up in the basement, were technical first. When IT didn't matter, when IT was a backroom function, what's called a system of record, a way of keeping score after the fact, you could get away with an IT person that wasn't a communicator, wasn't customer focused, wasn't a C-suite presence. That age is behind us.
Yeah.
IT has moved from the back room to center stage. It's in your face as you build your products, as you sell your products, as you engage with your employees. And so we've got to treat the IT executive like an executive.
Yeah. So Wayne, that's a good way to look at this, because I think in a way it brings up this whole issue of the pace of change today, business model, revenue models, engagement models, and so forth. So should CEOs and boards feel that it's okay for them to evolve their strategies as they move along, or do you want to lay one out there and stick with it, regardless of what comes your way?
No, I don't think that you should have a fixed strategy. This is not the Russian 5-year plan from the 1930s. We as business people have to become more agile. One of the things about digital transformation, Bob, is we have to be moving the company towards a quicker sense respond loop. I see something happening in the market. How do I build a company culture that allows me to respond? Now, here's where tech can help. Let's look at a couple of examples. By using Internet of Things, IoT, or industrial internet as some call it, I can build sensors into my products. And that means the focus group I used to have twice a year, 4 times a year with 50 random people, now becomes every product sending the company telemetry, data on how the product is used. Now, how do we build an organization that can deal with that data, with the rate of change, with the amount of data, and then use it to make good decisions? So we've got that part of technology. The other one is collaboration. Products that are emerging that allow us to collaborate, to look through org charts, to find specialists within the company and build affinity groups, teams in the company. These collaboration tools allow us to build a much more fluid, dynamic, and responsive organization. And so that's where the CIO and the CEO and maybe the Chief Human Resources Officer can partner up and try to use technology to help build a more fluid, better sense respond organization.
I've seen sometimes discussed, the current age of business, right? If you go back 100 years, companies made something and sold it. Then they would listen and react to what was needed. And today, I think part of what you're saying, it's time to anticipate and lead, move in lockstep with the market or your customers rather than being in a constant state of trying to play catch up.
Well, I think you've got to be listening to the market. That's always been true. What I think is going on now is consumers' use of technology means they're telling you more and they're telling you faster. If you're a company that deals with consumers, B2C, and you're not monitoring all the social channels, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, and be prepared to consume that information and make decisions about it, you are behind the curve. So you've got to be up at the speed of consumer information and get that net promoter score, find out what's wrong with a product, find out how customers are using it. And so Internet of Things, social media, mobility, these are all things that the company has to be paying attention to. And I'm going to tell you, it does not need the company to hire a 25-year-old millennial to go figure this out. It's okay to hire somebody that has the gray hair and the business experience because we can figure this out. It's not different. It's faster, but it's not different. Now, I will also say that just keeping up with your customers means you'll always be innovating on the old product. At some point, it behooves us to sit the technology people in a room and the business people in a room and say, what could we build if we could build what we wanted? I had this come up the other day in a meeting with a group, a couple of very highly trained specialists in a technical area, happen to be medicine, were saying to me, so tell me what you can give me to build a product. And I turned it around on them and said, you guys with the medical background,
Yeah.
tell me what you want the product to look like. Then it's my job as the technologist to say how much, how long, and how risky. And maybe you can get the product you want up here today, but maybe we can give you this knowing that we're going to do that to it. It really helps, to go back to my George Shultz quote, if I know where we're going, I can help shape the direction. But you, the business people, have to be envisioning what you think we're going to need to sell to the next generation of consumers, or the next fancy of consumers, or the next need of consumers that may not be articulated by the market.
Yeah. Well put there, Wayne. So for today's episode of Wayne Sadin on digital strategy, here's my final question. What's the biggest warning that you would offer to CEOs and boards as they, take or move toward the near the end of this digital journey of theirs?
Well, the biggest warning, Bob, is don't believe that digital transformation starts with digital. I've seen it happen. The CEO says, we got to do something about this digital transformation stuff. And they grab the CIO, who may see them twice a year, go to one board meeting a year and do the IT presentation, and they turn to them and say, go build me a digital strategy and get it done. So the warning is, CIOs, even the best CIOs, are really great at what I'll call digital optimization. That's better, faster, cheaper. I can work with the business and build everything you do with automation, drop some money to the bottom line, help pay for initiatives. But don't abdicate the strategy setting for the company to any functional expert, even the CIO, even a great CIO. Think about transformation enabled by digital, rather than go put computers in to solve our problem.
Right. Perfect way to put it, Wayne. Hey, and thanks. We're off to a great start here with your discussions about digital strategy. And thank you so much for your time and insights today.
It's always a pleasure, Bob, and I hope we get a lot of feedback, because I'd really like to get this discussion going.
It's an important one, Wayne, and I want to thank you so much for being part of it. And also, you folks in the audience, thank you for your time here. And thank you for being with us on Cloud Wars Live, where we explore the unfolding adventures of digital business and digital life in conversations with the people who are profoundly changing how work, play, learn, and experience the world. I hope you'll join us for other episodes of Cloud Wars Live. Please share your feedback with me at bobevanspa@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.